I need to tell you about the moment I realized I'd become invisible in my own life. What if the most competent women you know are the ones most likely to vanish from their own lives? It wasn't dramatic. I was sitting at my desk in Puerto Rico, the one where I handled all the billing and accounting for my husband's medical practice. And I was doing what I always did, juggling, wrestling with insurance companies in one window, emailing my son's program coordinators in Florida in another, texting with his therapist about his progress in the university program for adults with autism from an island away. While my daughter, fresh from Hopkins undergrad and now starting med school back home in Puerto Rico, was studying in the room next door. So I was magnificent at this. Like truly, I could navigate insurance bureaucracy like a pro, coordinate with an entire team of specialists from Puerto Rico to Florida, support my daughter through the brutal first year of med school from right here at home, and still keep a medical practice's finances running flawlessly. Everyone told me I should be feeling empty nest syndrome with my son in Florida, but honestly, my nest was fuller than ever, just differently full. My daughter moving back to the island after Hopkins meant I was still in full-on support mode. Just now it was meal prep for study marathons and long-distance therapy coordination. But that day, something broke through. I looked at my calendar, completely full, color-coded everything, 15-minute blocks all accounted for, and I couldn't find myself anywhere in it. Not one block that said Kylie wants this, not one appointment for Kylie's dream, not one single spot where I existed as anything other than the family CFO, the long distance care coordinator from PR to Florida, the med school support system, the everything handler. The irony, I was literally surrounded by therapists and future doctors. My husband's practice, all the professionals working with my son, my daughter becoming one herself. Healthcare was everywhere in my life except for me. Not that I needed therapy exactly. What I needed was something different, something that would help me remember who I was beyond the roles I played so perfectly. That's what led me to life coaching and specifically to coaching mastery training, which, oh my God, it worked with everything somatic, emotional, mental, behavioral, even the unconscious patterns I didn't know were running in my life. It wasn't about processing trauma or fixing something broken. It was about recognizing that I'd gotten so good at managing everyone else's success, my husband's practice, my son's independence journey 1,000 miles away, my daughter's medical career, that I'd completely forgotten I was allowed to have my own dreams. If you're listening to this thinking, wait, is she in my house right now? First, you're not alone. And second, we're about to dig into why the most capable women, the ones everyone relies on, are the ones most likely to disappear from their own lives. See, we don't lose ourselves in some big dramatic gesture. We don't wake up one day and decide to stop mattering. No, we dissolve ourselves in 1,000 acts of competence. One insurance battle at a time in my case. One crisis managed from an island away while another unfolds in your living room. One more system we create to keep everyone else's dreams on track while ours sit in a folder marked someday. And that's exactly what I discovered in my coaching training. We create these different versions of ourselves to survive and succeed, like archaeological layers, each one built on top of the last until we can't even remember the original foundation. Today, I want to walk you through these versions, these layers of identity we built. Because once you see them clearly, you can't unsee them. And that's when everything changes. Let's start with layer one. Your survival self, the brilliant manager who never stops managing. She's the one who figured out that if she could just manage everything perfectly, everyone would be okay. And if everyone was okay, then she'd be okay too. For me, this really crystallized when I became the financial backbone of my husband's practice while simultaneously becoming the chief advocate and coordinator for my neurodivergent son. Talk about survival mode, right? Insurance companies don't care that you're exhausted. The special education system doesn't pause because you need a break. Medical billing doesn't stop because you want to read a book. So I became a machine. I could decode insurance EOBs in my sleep. I knew every therapist's schedule, every coordinator's email, every strategy for every situation. I was playing three-dimensional chess with systems that weren't designed to work together, and I was winning. But here's what I learned in my coaching training. The survival self isn't just managing external chaos. She's managing internal fear, The fear that if you stop handling everything, it will all fall apart. The fear that your worth is directly tied to how much you can juggle. The fear that wanting something just for yourself is the ultimate betrayal. My survival self was so good at her job that I didn't even realize she'd taken over my entire identity. Like someone would ask me about myself and I'd literally answer with my responsibilities. I manage a medical practice and I coordinate care for my son, and never I love or I dream about or I want. Just what I handled, what I managed, what I kept afloat. And listen, she's not the villain here. She kept my family functioning. She kept the practice profitable. She kept my son progressing in his program. She's basically a superhero, but superheroes aren't supposed to be on duty 24/7. Even they have alter egos who get to just exist. Now, layer 2 is where it gets sneaky. Your achieving self. She's the optimizer who forgot what she was optimizing for. So as we get really good at surviving, that identity often morphs into what I call the achieving self. This is next level stuff. The achieving self doesn't just manage. She excels. She doesn't just handle. She optimizes. She just doesn't survive. She succeeds. And oh man, my achieving self was legendary. Okay. Because I could handle the spreadsheets for the practice, detailed tracking systems for my son's progress, making sure my daughter had clean laundry while pulling all-nighters, financial projections, tax strategies, efficiency systems that would make a Fortune 500 company jealous. I wasn't just handling insurance claims. I was getting maximum reimbursements. I wasn't just supporting my kids. I was optimizing their outcome. I wasn't just managing, I was crushing it. And from the outside, it looked amazing. People would say things like, I don't know how you do it all. And I'd feel this little hit of pride, dopamine hit, like, yes, I am doing it all and I am that capable. But here's what my coaching training helped me see. The achieving self operates from a core wound, the belief that you have to earn your place in the world through what you produce. Love isn't free. It's earned through being useful. Rest isn't deserved. It's earned through completing everything first. Joy isn't available unless it's productive joy. The moment that cracked me open was during the pandemic. Everything slowed down, and suddenly I had this terrifying realization. Without something to optimize, who was I? That's when I started writing romance novels under my pen name, Nikki Kylie. But here's the thing. I hid it for a year, an entire year. Why? Because writing romance wasn't productive. It wasn't useful. It wasn't supporting anyone or managing anything or achieving anything measurable. It was just something that made me happy, and my achieving self had no idea what to do with that. The original you, the dreamer who never left, just got buried. This is where identity archaeology gets really exciting, because underneath the manager, underneath the achiever, underneath all these carefully constructed versions, there's another you, the original you, the foundational layer, the bedrock. She's the version of you who existed before you learned that worth had to be earned, before someone praised you for being so responsible, before you got the message that wanting things for yourself was selfish, before you decided that everyone else's dreams mattered more than yours. So for me, discovering her felt like finding a time capsule I'd buried in the backyard and forgotten about. She was the girl who used to make up elaborate stories in her head, who dreamed of writing books that made people feel things, who wanted to create something beautiful and unnecessary and completely unapologetically hers. My coaching training taught me something crucial. Your original self never actually leaves. She can't. She's the foundation everything else is built on. She just gets buried under all these other identities we create to navigate the world. When I finally published my romance novel and started telling people about it, they kept saying, oh, wow, you're reinventing yourself. No, that's not what was happening at all. I was doing archaeology. I was excavating. I was digging through layers of roles and responsibilities and achievements to find what had been there all along. The creative woman who got labeled impractical, the dreamer who got told to be realistic, the part of me that wanted something that had nothing to do with managing anyone else's life. She'd been sitting in the waiting room of my psyche for decades, reading old magazines, checking her watch, wondering when the hell it was going to be her turn. Now, the joy shift, living from wholeness, not just habit. Now, here's where we get practical. Because I know your achieving self is sitting there like, okay, but how? Give me the action steps. We're not trying to blow up your life. Your survival self and achieving self aren't enemies. They're just overworked employees who think they own the company. What we're doing is more like an archaeological dig, careful, intentional, one layer at a time. Here's how I started and what I teach my clients now. The 3-voice check-in every morning. Literally ask, survival self, what are you worried about today? Let her tell you she needs to be heard. Achieving self, what are you trying to prove today? She's always has a list. An original self, what would like play today? Even if it's just for 10 minutes. The key is actually listening to all three, not judging, not dismissing, just acknowledging that all these parts of you exist and all of them have something to say. The energy archaeology for 1 week. Track what gives you energy versus what drains you. But here's the twist. Pay special attention to the things that give you energy but serve no practical purpose. That's your original self leaving. For me, it was reading romance novels before I started writing them. Completely impractical, totally unproductive, but I'd finish one and feel more alive than I'd felt in months. The 10-minute rebellion every single day. Do something that would make your survival self nervous and your achieving self judge you. Dance badly to one song, write a terrible poem, doodle in your planner, eat dessert first, start a book you'll never finish. This isn't time management. It's identity rehabilitation. You're teaching yourself that you're allowed to exist outside of your usefulness. The what if I'm allowed experiment? This one came straight from my coaching training and it changed everything. What if the thing you want is actually available to you? What if choosing yourself isn't selfish? What if your impractical dreams are actually breadcrumbs leading you home? What if you're allowed to want what you want? Not when you've earned it, not after everyone else is taken care of, now, as you are, today. Here's what I know after doing this work myself and now guiding other women through it. That restlessness you feel, that sense that something's missing, even though your life looks successful from the outside, that feeling like you're living someone else's life, even though you built every bit of it, that's not a midlife crisis. That's not hormones. That's not empty nest syndrome. That's your original self tapping on the glass saying, hey, remember me? I'm still here and I have some ideas about the second half of life. She's not asking you to abandon your kids or blow up your marriage or guilt or quit anything. She's just asking for a seat at the table where decisions about your life get made. Your survival self protected you. Your achieving self built the platform. Now your original self gets to dance on it. And trust me, she's been practicing her moves in that waiting room for years. She's ready. And listen, if you're thinking, I need help with this excavation, good instinct. This is exactly what I do with my clients. We dig together. So if you take away one thing today, let it be this. You are not broken, you are buried, and you have the tools to excavate your way back. Remember, you're not lost. You're just really well buried under everyone else's needs. Thank you so much for listening. And if this episode hit home for you, if something I said made you think, oh my God, yes, would you do me a quick favor? Take literally 5 seconds and leave a rating and review. It honestly helps more than you know. It helps the show reach other women who need to hear this message. If you want to follow along behind the scenes and get extra nuggets of wisdom between episodes, come find me on Instagram at Kylie Suarez Official. I'm always sharing the messy middle, the real stuff that doesn't make it into episodes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. I drop new ones every Tuesday.